tracking the captions and building them in and out. So tracking captions requires you to keyframe the video tracking captions requires you to make compound clips on the timeline. And before I do that, I just want to make sure that all of the original clips are color graded or just adjusted to look as good as they possibly can. So I'm messing with these parameters real quick. Alright, so I like that. So I'm going to take this and put it on the rest. Bam. Alright, now we can get into tracking captions. Track this caption on that person's head. You need to make sure that you don't have any keyframes or you don't have any transform properties on the clip that you want to track to at all. So I do that just by making a compound clip. And now I can track this caption very well. Click Analyze. Bam. I'll show you what that looks like. Sometimes the left and right gets mixed up as up and down. It sounds counterintuitive, but I'll show you.
Alaska.
Yeah, it's like decent. And then obviously, and then if a contestant says more than one thing, like this person says yes, or Alaska yes, you'll want to make that all one clip. All of the captions they say, just make them one clip, because if you track each caption individually, one may end here, and then your other one would start just a little over, versus if they're all the same clip, every caption is in the same spot, and the clip is moving. So the clip is the whole thing moving versus one caption moves at a time, and then the second one moves. So you'd have to match up the end of one caption and the start of the other one, the end of that to the start of the other one, or you could just make one clip and that clip moves naturally throughout the whole thing, which is what I just did. Turn rotation off, and then move your caption. Make a compound clip of the actual video so that you're not tracking onto a clip that has keyframes or transform properties like scale and whatnot. And what I mean by the transform properties is, even if your video is just scaled up, I don't think Tracker works as well. But I've never really tested it. It's just easier. I mean, I should learn and figure it out, but it's just easier to just do the compound clip, because I know it works great with the compound clip. So some limitations of Tracker are that it struggles when things get bigger. So if I were to zoom in on someone's head and try to track a caption, like they're speaking and I zoom in as they speak, the distance between the caption and the head will stay inconsistent. It won't be the same space the entire time. At those points, you would have to keyframe that distance. Not the whole text and follow the head, but just the distance, which basically means from the start of the zoom to the end of the zoom, you just make sure that the space matches. So it's just two keyframes, a starting keyframe and an ending one. Another limitation with Tracker is turning heads. So this Tracker is almost like 3D, like it'll try to track that plane of your face. So if I track this and then turn, like the Tracker stays with me. So if the text is up here and I turn, it'll be like off center on my head. So you'd have to just watch for that, and then manually keyframe to adjust for it. So that's just moving it left and right. Another limitation of tracker is the fact that you have to turn rotation off every single time. I wish I could just by default have it turned off. Sometimes I forget, but after the amount of editing I've done, I'm pretty good at catching it. Beyond that, it works pretty well. I do not animate in, animate out, build in, build out my captions before I track them, because tracking a caption that moves it just makes it difficult to see if the tracking did well, because the caption is already moving. So that's why I wait till after I track to animate in and animate out. Obviously, if you're not tracking some text onto that clip or anything onto the clip, you do not need to make it a compound clip. Ooh, and this is a good instance. So there's multiple clips here. So I'll show you how to deal with that. So that's what I'm saying. Like, this is considered a clip, this is considered a clip, and this. So when I click on this one and I do my tracker, it's wanting me to track this purple clip onto this purple clip when I want to track this purple clip onto the actual video. So I'm going to undo that. There's a few ways you can do it. First, you could disable anything below it so that it knows what you're doing. So now if I do it, it's on the video. You can see it popped up the tracking track right there. I'll undo it, and then I'll close this so you can see that where the tracking track pops up. You can go to a section where there's nothing under it, and then it'll work. Once you track on the video, perfect. Otherwise, even with this up and you over it, make sure you have it clicked. We'll get rid of. You can make a tracker onto the video clip just by choosing what you want to track it to. So this one, create new tracker. Bam. My preference, as I think it's the fastest, is just going to a spot in the video where there's nothing under it. Like a spot like this. There's nothing under it, so I know I'm tracking to the right thing. So I've already put a tracker on his face, so I can just go add that to this text. I know that he is the first tracker in this clip, but you have to turn rotation off still. And the same for him. He is the third tracker. The second one was just one that I added but didn't do anything with. Just, it happened in the tutorial. Must have missed it. And then we'll turn the rotation off. So, and what you just saw there was sometimes when you turn rotation off, it's still like, you turned it off at a point where it was rotated, so it kept that rotation, but it stopped moving the rotation, so you just have to reset it back to 0. Sometimes I jump a little bit ahead, making a bunch of compound clips on the videos, and then going back and tracking the text. Sometimes I'm a fan of the one process at a time. Like, I'll go through compound clip the whole thing, then go get the text boxes. But just for the sake of the tutorial, I'm just gonna do one clip at a time. So this clip is 5 seconds long, and all I need to track is like less than a second, less than half a second. So when I start analyzing the track for it to follow, like the tracker's looking at the video saying I need to stay here, it'll go through the whole clip. You'll see it down here. But I can click stop, it'll move my cursor, or I can move my cursor back, and then I can track it to the left, or if I wanted to track it just to the right. So now if I go just to the left, it'll go just leftwards. So basically what I'm saying is you don't always have to let the tracker go completely one way and then back. You can stop it if you don't need it to track the whole clip. So I'll show you that again. This will be me using analyze, and I'll just let it go through the whole clip. So when I click analyze, it'll track the entire clip forward, then backwards. And don't forget to turn rotation off. But in this instance, this is a two second clip, and the contestant speaks for almost just half a second. So I'll take this, and instead of clicking analyze, I'm just going to click the arrow on the right arrow. That way, well, this isn't the perfect example, but it only tracks it to the right, puts me back at where I started, and then I can track left and stop it when I need to. A better example would be like if you're at the perfect front of it, then you could click the right arrow and it would just track to the right, and obviously there's nothing to the left for you to need to track. Boom. Compound clip, compound clip, compound clip, because he speaks. Bam. See, this is what I'm saying about you could just go through and make all the compound clips, kind of save yourself some time. Having to turn rotation off, if I didn't have to do that, I swear I'd save a couple minutes every edit. So this contestant says more than one word in a row. So there would be difficulty if you tracked each word separately, individually, as opposed to just in one compound clip, because you would have to match up the end of one word with the start of the next, the end of that word with the start of the next, which is why I use a compound clip. I'm actually going to write that down and make a separate tutorial on that. I'll show you in that tutorial what I'm talking about with how it would be difficult. Outside of it just being difficult, it also is time consuming, because you'd have to go to each individual word and turn the tracker on and turn rotation off. So if a contestant or participant is just rambling on, they got 25, 30 words, that is a lot of clicking, versus just highlighting it. Quick pause here, I just added another tracker. Oftentimes I forget that there's already a tracker done for this clip, and I just add a second. It's perfectly fine. But if a contestant rambles on and you don't use a compound clip to track those captions, it'd be a lot of clicking to have to turn the tracker on for each of those captions and then turn rotation on for each of them and then move each caption up. Instead I just use a compound clip, turn rotation off one time, move the clip one time, bam, it's done. an instance where I could have used stopped, save like a couple seconds maybe. You do that across 30 to 60 clips, you're saving a couple minutes on a project. You apply that to more than just tracking, and that time adds up quick. Both the participant says, both captions the participant says, both captions the participant says. So after this tracking is done, I'm going to go animate the text. That is, just click the option for build in and the option for build out when appropriate. I don't build in and build out every individual caption / text box, just because I consider that a little jarring to actually even follow. It's just kind of hard. Also potentially a little distracting from the video. Instead, I will pop in / animate in the first word of a sentence and then animate out the last word of a sentence, unless, for the animate out, unless the frame ends. If the frame ends, I don't want the text to animate out before the frame actually ends because it looks sloppy. So if the frame ends, I will just leave the text to end when the frame ends. So you'll see that when I start doing it. Alright, so that's tracking. Now let's animate this stuff in. So in this video, I'm not going to animate this in just because I don't want people to miss this question. I want it to be big, bold, right in their face right away. There's probably an argument you could make for it popping up and now it's grabbing your attention, but I've had good traction with this, good success with it just on screen, so I'm just going to leave it on screen like that. First word he says, animate it in. First word this guy says, animate it in. So since I did the compound clip, sometimes to animate stuff in, you got to go inside of it to click on the text box that you want to animate in. But you get used to it and it gets quick. First word he says, animate in. I'm going to use command left and right now to move through the text boxes without having to click them manually. Question, it's the first thing, animate it in, first word. And this is my first word, and this caption ends before the video ends, so I will animate it out. First word, animate it in. It's his first word versus my first word. Like, it's about the person's first word, not the first word on the clip. Are you sure about that? So I'm only going to animate in the are you sure? Him saying yes, animate in. X, animate in and out since it ends, but the clip doesn't end. You got that wrong, so your game is over. See, I didn't catch this when I was coloring. Let's make it italicized and red. Oh, and the currently following, I like this to be green. I consider like green positive, good, things you want to strive for, and red kind of like loss, failure, and that, like, whole 9 yards. 2 colors, 2 different greens. Just keeps it fun. Get rid of the period. I'm going to animate in currently following. Since I use animation in and out so limitedly, you can use it as like an emphasis or an effect. which is what I did with the currently following. Animate this X in but not out, since the X ends when the clip ends. Animate this in and out. Animate that in. I'm going to make a note for sometimes, this is the note I'm making, if a text box is too short or too quick, animation in and out doesn't make the most sense. Gonna put that in a common mistakes tutorial video that I'm making. Just a lot of common mistakes I see people make when editing. In here, animate in his first word and animate out his last word, since his last word ends before the video ends. Same with this instance, animate in the first word, the last word. And so this guy's left side guy, both of his words animate in, or the first word animates in, the second word animates out. But he goes to talk later in the video, so it's the same thing. Animate in and out the word, because he stops talking before the video ends. And I've increased the length just so that it doesn't pop in and then pop out right away. I give it some length to sit on the screen. And for this orange one, just going to animate in and not out, since it ends when the video ends. So do not animate out in that instance. You can also use animation in on repeat words. So if someone says like, no, 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 you could, what I like to do is increase the font every time they say that word again, and then also animate it in every time. Sometimes it might be too quick, where the animation in is a little egregious, so then you could just go with the font. Or you could just go with just the animation in, keep the font the same. Don't know why I clicked that. That just took me to my previously edited project. Game is over, italicized and red. Didn't catch that when I was coloring the text. Currently following, forgot to color that as well. Since it's two separate colors, I'll just use this. I don't know if I animated that currently following in. It's pretty easy to blank out when you're doing this. It's just such a monotonous task on repeat. So Alaska wasn't the first word said, but instead I'm using animate in just to emphasize. And I'm emphasizing that just because it's a correct answer. In this instance, the X animates out, and then this animates in, so I'm just going to overlap these a little bit. Because I think it's weird when there's like a microsecond gap of no caption. And it looks kind of clean when one comes over another. Kind of like that. Could do a little bit of a bigger overlap.
The correct answer is...
So that's that. That is animating captions in and out.